At a circuit like Francorchamps, where legends are born and reputations are broken in seconds, one moment can define an entire weekend. And for Lewis Hamilton, that moment came at the worst possible time. SQ1, final lap, last corner. A place where drama is common. But this was unexpected. A 7-time world champion, in a Ferrari no less, spinning out of qualifying not due to reckless aggression or a rookie mistake, but because the car simply didn't hold together beneath him. As the checkered flag waved, Hamilton's Ferrari pirouetted at the bus stop chicane. The cameras caught it, the paddock froze. 18th on the grid, just ahead of two rookies Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Franco Colapinto. For a man who has built his legacy on perfection, precision, and race day brilliance, this wasn't just a bad result. It was a seismic shock. Ferrari came to Belgium with purpose. Their upgrade package was hyped internally, with promises of stability and improved cornering through Spa's treacherous curves. But when Hamilton was asked post-session whether he felt any improvement from the new rear suspension, his answer was silent at first, then blunt. I spun. He offered no excuses, but when pushed further, he added something chilling. First time in my career, he said about the rear locking. That one sentence sent a ripple through the F1 world. For someone of Hamilton's caliber, who spent 2 decades mastering braking zones across the globe, to experience something so unpredictable, so mechanical is unnerving. From the outside it looked like driver error. But then came the analysis. Sky Sports' Anthony Davidson, an expert in technical failures, listened closely to the in-car audio and noted something strange. A metallic clunk, a jarring noise mid-downshift. That's gearbox backlash, he explained. It's not a driver mistake. Martin Brundle backed it up, calling the incident highly unusual and citing suspected failure at the rear axle. Suddenly, what looked like a simple spin became a technical post-mortem one that pointed away from the driver and toward the machinery beneath him. And here lies the bigger question. If Ferrari's new upgrade was supposed to deliver stability, how did it leave their lead driver facing backwards in a critical qualifying session? Spa isn't just another track. It's a testing ground for both courage and engineering. And in that moment, Ferrari failed Hamilton on both fronts. He didn't crash, he didn't overdrive, the car let go. And with it, Ferrari's weekend began, unraveling faster than anyone expected. Ferrari didn't come to Spa empty-handed. On the contrary, their engineers arrived with confidence, armed with a new rear suspension upgrade aimed at curing what's become a chronic issue, instability. In high-speed corners, the concept was clear. Lower the SF25's ride height, stabilized the unpredictable rear end, and offered drivers the freedom to push without fear. It was a calculated move, born from months of data, wind tunnel testing, and simulation work. The goal: extract the car's true pace, not just in raw lap time, but in drivability, consistency, and tire preservation. Yet from the first session, warning signs emerged. Charles Leclerc, who did manage to extract more from the car than Hamilton, was cautiously optimistic. The car felt better, he admitted, but the numbers told a harsher truth. Leclerc was still 0.768 seconds off Oscar Piastri's pole lap. On a circuit like Spa, with its long straights and sweeping curves, such a deficit is massive. We made a step forward, Leclerc said, but McLaren made 2. That single sentence encapsulates Ferrari's recurring nightmare every time they evolve. Someone else leaps even further. Underneath the shell of this latest upgrade lies a complex trade-off. The new rear suspension shifts the front wishbones, mounting point to the gearbox and attempt to lower the center of gravity and increase rear grip. But Ferrari's drivers have hinted at a critical side effect. While the car becomes more stable in theory, it demands a more extreme setup in practice. That means less margin for error and a more aggressive balance that can bite back, especially in qualifying where the car is on a knife's edge. And that's exactly what happened to Hamilton. When the rear axle locked mid-braking at the final corner, it was more than just a spin. It was a breakdown in the communication between car and driver. Ferrari gambled on a mechanical solution, but in doing so, they created a new variable, one that even Hamilton, with all his experience, couldn't control. The team now faces a brutal irony. Their big upgrade may have introduced as many questions as it answered. And it's not just about Lewis. If Leclerc is still 3/4 of a second off pole, and Hamilton is struggling to stay on track, is this package truly a step forward? What's worse, the paddock knows. Rival teams, analysts, and even Ferrari's own mechanics are watching closely. Because upgrades aren't just about what you gain, they're about what you reveal. And at Spa, Ferrari may have revealed more of their internal chaos than they intended. After the spin, came silence. Lewis Hamilton didn't storm off or lash out. He stood by his car, helmet on, eyes scanning the circuit as if trying to piece together what had just happened. And when the interviewers came, he gave them only what he had: truth, frustration, and a quiet warning. Tomorrow's a new day. But behind that phrase was a deeper truth. Lewis Hamilton now faces a sprint race from the penultimate row, and in modern F1, even scoring a single point from that position is a monumental task. This isn't Mercedes anymore. Hamilton isn't armed with a bulletproof chassis and race-winning pit strategies. This is Ferrari unpredictable, reactive, and increasingly desperate. The problem isn't just one spin. It's what the spin exposed. A team struggling to maximize the raw potential of its car, still lost in setup debates, still unsure how to balance risk with reward. For all of Ferrari's romantic legacy, they remain tactically fragile. And now they're asking Lewis Hamilton to dig them out. Dash again. It's a cruel turn for a driver who's shown sparks of brilliance in the sprint format. In Shanghai, he was untouchable pole to win. In Miami, he read the rain better than anyone, jumping to slicks before the rest and landing a hard-fought podium. These moments weren't flukes. They were signs that Hamilton still has the instinct, the timing, and the guts to make something out of nothing. But to do that consistently, he needs a car that responds, not one that collapses under braking or second-guesses him mid-corner. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Ferrari garage, Charles Leclerc is caught in his own paradox. He's delivering results second-row starts. Solid laps but feels the weight of underachievement. His comments are revealing. He's happy with the balance, but stunned by the gap. He trusts the upgrades, but fears the limitations. "We need more grip," he said plainly. "I don't think we're doing anything wrong, but we're just not fast enough." That is perhaps the most damning indictment of Ferrari's current state. Even when they execute perfectly, they still fall short. And now, the strategy for the sprint becomes less about gaining ground and more about damage control. Can Hamilton find a clean line through the chaos of lap 1? Can Ferrari anticipate the tire window, the weather shift, the DRS timing, or will it be another race of miscalculations and missed opportunities? Moments like these don't just cost points, they leave scars. For Lewis Hamilton, who joined Ferrari with hopes of reinvigorating both his career and the team's fortunes, this isn't just a setback, it's a psychological blow. He didn't leave Mercedes for nostalgia. He left for a project, a purpose, and a belief that he could help rebuild Ferrari into a championship contender. But standing next to a broken SF25 at Spa, staring down P18 on the grid, that vision feels painfully distant. And here's the brutal truth: Hamilton isn't the problem. Nor is Leclerc. Ferrari has the talent. What it lacks is identity. One weekend, it's a conservative team playing the long game. The next, it's gambling on aggressive setups and experimental parts. One day they're managing tire wear. The next, they're risking a pole attempt on slicks in a wet qualifying. There is no consistency in philosophy. And that uncertainty trickles down to the drivers, both of whom are world-class but seem caught in a system that doesn't know what it wants to be. This is particularly evident in the way Ferrari manages risk. Leclerc openly admits that his performance gains often come at the expense of confidence. He's willing to run extreme setups, trading predictability for speed because the team is desperate for results. But that approach is unsustainable. It invites mistakes, exposes mechanical weaknesses, and forces drivers to operate on the very edge of control. Hamilton's spin wasn't just a technical failure, it was a consequence of that pressure. He pushed, the car snapped, and the weekend imploded before it began. Behind the scenes, engineers and strategists are scrambling, not just to fix the car, but to decode its behavior. The new suspension system, while promising in theory, demands a perfect setup to work effectively. One wrong calibration, one misread, on-track evolution, and the car becomes unpredictable. That's what we saw in SQ1. And while Hamilton's gearbox might have contributed to the spin, the bigger issue is systemic. Ferrari continues to design fast cars that are hard to drive in modern Formula One. That's a recipe for inconsistency. Now, all eyes turn to Saturday's sprint. But even if Hamilton claws his way forward, even if Leclerc finishes on the podium, the deeper concern remains. Ferrari is still reacting to the symptoms, not curing the disease. And every time a new upgrade fails to deliver a breakthrough, the team's confidence takes another hit. That's the real cost, not just lost points, but lost belief. For Hamilton, this is more than a bad day at the office. It's a reminder that history and heritage don't guarantee results. And for Ferrari, it's a wake-up call. Because if a driver like Lewis Hamilton can't thrive in your car, then maybe it's not the driver who needs to change. As the lights go out on Saturday's sprint, Lewis Hamilton will have one job. But in F1, recovery is rarely just about overtaking. It's about momentum, mindset, and minimizing damage in a race where everything moves faster and strategy windows close in seconds. From P18, Hamilton needs a perfect start, clean air, and a car that doesn't fight him into every braking zone. And based on Friday's evidence, that's a big ask. He's not alone in his frustration. Charles Leclerc, despite starting fourth, isn't brimming with confidence either. The gap to Piastri nearly 8/10 is a glaring sign that McLaren has leapfrogged Ferrari in development. And it's not just McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, even Aston Martin at times. These teams have shown a more consistent developmental curve. Ferrari, by contrast, seems stuck in a cycle of trial and error. One weekend, they're closing in; the next, they're sliding backward. And now, as the summer break approaches, serious questions are being asked inside. MARANELLO. Was this rear suspension upgrade the right call? Did it come too early? Did it compromise the car's overall balance in pursuit of rear-end stability? And most critically, can Ferrari trust their data anymore? Because on paper, the SF25 should be a podium contender at Spa instead. One driver is on damage control, and the other is openly questioning the car's fundamental grip levels. And let's not ignore what this means for Hamilton's trajectory within Ferrari. This isn't the beginning, he imagined. His move from Mercedes wasn't supposed to be symbolic, it was strategic. He wanted a team that believed in innovation, in risk, in bold decisions. But so far, he's been met with mechanical inconsistencies, patchy upgrades, and a car that occasionally punishes him for trusting it. The relationship is still young, but if Ferrari doesn't stabilize soon, the psychological toll could mount. Looking ahead, Ferrari can't afford to stumble into the same mistakes. The car's foundation must be understood. Every update, every component, every setup change must bring clarity, not confusion. Leclerc's feedback is a goldmine. Hamilton's experience is irreplaceable. If the team can finally stop treating symptoms and start addressing the core engineering philosophy, there's still hope. But if not, then every race becomes a fight. Upgrade, a gamble. Every point of battle. Spa was supposed to be a step forward. Instead, it exposed the cracks. Ferrari must now decide, will they continue patching over problems, or will they rebuild the machine from the ground up? Because if they don't, the story of this season won't be one of redemption. It will be one of wasted potential. If you felt the weight of this moment, if you believe Hamilton still has more to give, and if you're as puzzled by Ferrari's strategy as we are, let us know in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and join us as we continue unpacking the wild ride that is the 2025 F1 season. This isn't just racing, it's a war for legacy, identity, and the soul of Formula One.